Hi, welcome to Ride Alongside. Today I'm here with Scott from North of the Border Bikes, and he's got a Marin Pine Mountain 2. Scott, will you introduce yourself and tell us how you arrived with the Pine Mountain 2?
Yeah, I'm Scott Holland, a local mountain bike racer. I race for North of the Border, and Marin's one of their big brands, and I was looking for a fun bike, non-race bike, something I could take on long rides and just really enjoy riding. And this is one of the 30th anniversary bikes that Marin came out with this year, and that's how I arrived at picking up the Pine Mountain.
Nice. Well, I really like the fact that it's steel and it's a plus bike, so you've grabbed my attention right away. We actually met at 6 Hours of Temecula, an endurance race, and we were riding together for a little while. And you know, I was already starting to ride with some plus bike gear. I had a 29 plus tire on the front end of my bike at the time, and I was really liking it. But now there's some other options out there. There's a lot of 650B plus, 27.5 plus bikes, as they might be called, out there. And like I said, the Marin really caught my attention. It looks like it's set up to be kind of like a trail bike with really, you know, beefy 3 or 2.8 tires on it, and yet it's also kind of set up for like this endurance kind of bike packing style. So tell us kind of where it fits in your quiver.
Yeah, I had wanted to replace a full suspension 5-inch travel bike, it's stump jumper. And I wanted to bring up the technology. You know, didn't have through axles. You know, it was 26er, and I really wanted a 650B bike.
Yeah.
I'm a little too short for 29er, and when I try to make it work out, I end up getting toe overlap, and I'm just really small build for a 29er. So this was kind of the right wheel size for me, and I really liked the geometry, like you said, kind of being all mountain, kind of a fun bike, not like a race bike, or, you know, it had really aggressive trail geometry. So because I was trying to replace that full suspension, you know, trail bike.
Right.
So the 34 Fox was pretty big part of the build that I liked. The boost spacing and just the geometry in general kind of really caught my eye.
Nice. Yeah, it's a great looking bike, man. So this is their 30th year anniversary, and they put out this bike and the Pine Mountain 1, I understand, kind of just for this year. They said it's kind of 30 years in the making, you know, which I thought was pretty clever. It's an amazing looking bike, and for being all steel, it's pretty rare. There aren't too many steel bikes out there, especially with the plus size tires, and ones that are set up for bike packing. I've seen a few, but not necessarily kind of with this geometry, and with the dropper seat post. It's definitely oriented more towards that trail riding kind of geometry, and I can see why you really like it for kind of long distance stuff as well. Kind of fits that trail bike you know, area, and then it also fits kind of the long distance stuff. So I definitely get why you've got it, and you've also got a race bike, a Geek House race bike as well. So you've kind of got that end of the spectrum covered for the endurance racing side of things. Tell me more about what you intend to do with this bike. I know you were telling me earlier before the shoot that you know, you're planning to do kind of Noble Canyon rides on it. And here in San Diego County, we have this amazing trail called Noble Canyon, and it's got kind of everything. It's got, you know, the mountains with the forest, and then it's got kind of the oak forests and water crossings and kind of desert rockiness, and it's a trail that a lot of guys take their downhill bikes on, and it's a lot of guys take their cross-country rigs on it as well and ride up and then ride down. So tell me more about what you intend to do with this particular bike.
Yeah, on really long, you know, technical mountain bike rides, like out Noble Canyon and Indian Creek and things like that, where an XC race bike can do it, it might do it the fastest, it's not always the funnest.
Right.
You know, it's hard to let the bike go and through the rocky sections, and you're really just hanging on for dear life. instead of enjoying the ride.
Yep.
So, I wanted to have a bike where I could climb up the mountain. I could, climb for an hour, climb for 2 hours. It could do that without being a complete beast and having to push through sections and walk a whole bunch. But something that was also fun on the downhills, and I could take it. So I wanted a pretty versatile bike. And I think I kind of found it in this bike. The geometry allows it to be really, really fun on the descents, but it's not too heavy and too cumbersome to be able to climb steep sections, technical sections. The big tires really help. It rolls really well. The geometry's slack, but not so much that I'm wheeling, trying to keep the front end down the whole time when I'm climbing up. And the gearing's pretty good. I think for my cadence style, maybe a little bit smaller chainring on the front. This has a 32 with the stock XT build.
Yeah.
I think I might go to a 30 myself, but it's worked pretty well so far. I've had the bike for about a month, so I've been testing it pretty well.
Yeah. Nice. Well, you definitely covered a lot of the questions I was going to ask about the gearing. It's got the new XT 1x11 system on it, which I kind of wondered about that as well. It's got rack mounts on it. It's designed to be kind of an adventure bike. Bike packing oriented, but then having the 1x11 system, I kind of wondered, is that 32 tooth going to be too much when you come to the climbs with fully loaded bike? I just recently was comparing a 2x10 system with my 1x10 system and realized how valuable the 2x10 is when I've got a bike loaded down with 30 plus pounds.
Yeah.
So that was definitely one of my questions. So yeah, being able to change the chainring, pretty easily, depending on the terrain that you anticipate, is definitely a benefit there. So we've heard about some of the strengths of the bike. Any weaknesses that you've found so far, Scott?
Like you said, I think the 1x drivetrain with a fully loaded bike might be a little bit difficult in some of the steeper sections.
Yeah.
I haven't loaded the bike down for bike packing yet. That's something I haven't really gotten into just yet, but it's something I want to get into.
Nice.
So I kind of see my racing progressing towards more adventure stuff. I'd like to go out and do like Cocopelli and things like that, and so that's kind of where I see my riding progressing, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get my hands on a bike like this. It does come with the Brazon mount for a front derailleur, so you could put a 2x system on here, and with the plate mounted on the drive side, you can clear 2 chain rings.
Excellent.
I'd say the other weakness, the only other thing on the small frame, there isn't a second water bottle mount.
Yeah.
Because the seat tube is so short.
Right.
And that wasn't something I had anticipated, but I can see why the second bottle won't fit here.
Yep.
So that is another weakness. Maybe because of the dropper post, you can't put one on the back of the seat post.
Right.
So running a bottle in your pocket or finding some other way to mount a bottle, but I'd say that's probably the 2 things I found so far. Yep.
Yeah, nice. Well, for bike packing, it's something I've been exploring more and more over the last few years as well, and there's different ways to get around the hydration thing, especially if you've got a frame bag and you got a camelback bladder or other hydration bladder in there. You're not going to be using that water ball mount anyway. But I know what you mean for doing the endurance races and stuff. It's nice to have 2 bottles and not have to go back to the pits and grab another bottle or whatever, or have to have one in your pocket. So that's
one nice thing that I wasn't too familiar with was frame bags. Yeah. And I haven't had one built, or I hadn't really looked into them, but one of the things I noticed on this frame was the frame bag mounts on the downside of the top tube here. And I didn't know what they were for at first until I looked into it, and I thought, oh, that's actually a really good way to do it. So with the down tube routing and the under top tube mounts here, you don't have to have any straps for a bag. You could have it go all the way around. And
that's actually nice. It's something that I've run into recently with actually having to kind of portage my bike and grab it from the top tube. It's really nice to be able to kind of just slip your hand right in there, between the bag and the frame and grab it when you have to go do a quick hike a bike kind of thing. So that's pretty awesome. What about the rack mounts that we've got on here, Scott? Do you have any plans to use those? Do you find those to be beneficial, or I always think that having extra is always great in case you do use it, but do you anticipate putting a rack on there someday?
Yeah, if I start getting into the bike packing, I'd have to look at the different options, whether it's, the full saddlebag or if I go with the rack mount. I'm not too sure. It also would allow for fenders for some reason if I wanted to put, if I plan on getting really, really muddy, I could be able to put some fenders in there. So it's a nice to have, but I don't know at the moment how I would really use them.
Yeah. Well, with the dropper post, it leaves me kind of wondering, well, maybe they have those on there so that you can have all of your gear on the back on a rack instead of having it hang off of your seat. But obviously, switching out seat posts isn't a big deal, and putting a seat post bag on there, or a seat bag in general, would definitely work down the road. Well, it looks like a great bike. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you wanted to mention about it, or
one of the things
else?
I found interesting that I haven't had a bike with boost spacing before, and it seemed to really open up a lot of opportunities for bikes like this that weren't really available when you were trying to build a plus-size bike on a geometry or on a platform that wasn't designed for it. And it seems to really make the bike lend itself towards running a plus or running a more versatile setup. With the spacing, and the addition of the 180 millimeter rotor in the front, I thought it would be overkill. But with the heavier tires and the bigger wheels, actually it works pretty well. I think I'd actually prefer to keep it that size. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, good points. Yeah, the boost spacing, I was a little bit hesitant to think that it'd be real valuable. I've seen, how Surly designed the Krampus and they made it work, and other designs out there, I've seen them kind of make it work. But as time goes on, there is some method to the madness, if you will, of having another size.
Yet another standard.
Yeah, one more standard. That's the thing about the bicycle industry. There are no standards. If there are, they'll change.
Yep.
Can you tell me about the through axle on the rear at all? Have you?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's, from one standpoint, it's completely custom to Marin, and the way it works is you just unclick and rotate once, and then 90 degrees, and then the axle will come out.
Nice.
So it makes it, from a standpoint of ease of use and repeatability, it comes on and off really fast, really quick.
Yeah.
But from the standpoint of if you wanted to change the axle, if you broke the axle, you'd have to get a replacement from Marin.
Right.
That's one thing I was thinking. And then also, I like to pull my son in a bob trailer. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, the downside of running the custom axle is I can't attach the bob trailer to the bike.
Yeah.
So, or I might be able to find a way to use the rack mounts or some way of building my own.
Yeah.
So, but for now, with the standard or the custom axle, I can't attach the bob to it. No.
Yeah. Well, that's a downside, kind of minor downside, but
Yeah, something people probably won't normally use.
well, for guys like you that look for every ride to get their training in, putting your son back there is a good way to do it. I like that rear axle. I've been dealing with axles mostly on boost spaced or oversized spaced bikes recently, and there's some really good ones out there and there's some really frustrating ones out there. So pick and choose wisely. It's something that seems kind of minor at first, especially if you've got racks for your car and you never take the wheels off. It seems kind of minor, but when it comes time to change them out on the trail, I'm telling you, it's nice to have a quick system like that. And yeah, being proprietary and having to find a replacement, that I could see how that may be frustrating if that could happen, but I bet it's a rare occurrence.
It's the only downside. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Scott, it's a great looking bike. I can't wait to get out there with you and throw a leg over it myself and see how it rides. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm Nick from Ride Alongside, here with Scott from North of the Border Bikes. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with more content real soon.